Canadian servicewomen were the true heroines of the Second World War. Although they did not take part in combat missions, they played an active part in backing the attack. In September of 1939, when the Second World War began, women could enter the armed forces as nurses. That changed in 1941 with the creation of the Women's Division of the Royal Canadian Air Force, the Canadian Women's Army Corps, and in 1942 with the creation of the Women's Royal Canadian Naval Service. Over 45,000 women signed up for duty in the Second World War. Many of these women enlisted against their families' wishes, as some considered women in the military as unseemly.
I had wanted to join the forces when I was 18, but my father wouldn't even consider it. So by the time I joined up, the Wrens had mobilized, and then I wanted them. So it took me 2 years to convince my father that I could join the Wrens. And as I say, I was 20 and working and living away from home, but I wouldn't join up without him saying I could. And after that, my father, as far as he was concerned, he was the only one that had a daughter in the forces.
I had two brothers already and a sister already in the Navy, and I joined in 1945, February 45. And no, they were quite happy with the fact that I went. I think I was the youngest in the family, and I think they hated to see the youngest one leave home. But it was a wonderful experience, and I'm glad I didn't miss it.
Well, I waited till I was 17 and a half to join, to fill out an application. I knew my parents wouldn't sign for me to go, but I really wanted to try and get into the Navy, and I joined up in 43, but it wasn't until 45 they called me, and they were quite proud of me, I think. I had a brother that was in the Army and had been overseas for 5 years, so they thought it was very nice. It did a lot for me. I really am glad. It was the best thing I ever did. And I was able to get married, and I've got through married life with a breeze. It's been hard-working, but I've enjoyed life. I've learned to take things one day at a time, and if things are changed, roll with the punches.
I was born in Salmon Arm, BC, and my mother passed away, so when they were able to take me out of the hospital, one of the WMS ladies in Salmon Arm brought me to, and my sister had just turned 5, to Victoria, and took me to the Oriental Home and School, it was called. The WMS ran this home. The Women's Missionary Society, United Church of Canada. My years there were wonderful. I had a dream one night that said to join the forces. So I wanted the Air Force, but the Air Force had their quota of women, and I didn't like the Navy. So I won't tell you why. And so I joined the Army, and I was sent to Vancouver, because that's where the women were. And then from there, I got sent out here to Toronto with the Royal Canadian Signal Corps.
My father wasn't too keen on my joining the Navy, but I kept saying that I wanted to do it, so he decided that he would join the Navy too. So he went down to see about joining up, but he wasn't accepted. He was told that he would lose his job. You know, there was no guarantee he'd get his job when he came back. And he had been in the First World War anyway. And so he gave it up, and he was, you know, very, very pleased really with the decision that I'd made to join the forces.
I wanted to be part of participating. I came from a small town, and I didn't feel the prejudice that the people down here felt. I don't know if you could understand that or not, but anyway, I was just glad to be part of this whole thing. And when we had that V Day in 1945, I believe, all of us went out and participated because some of the soldiers didn't come back.
During the Second World War, there was a steady undercurrent of publicity directed toward young women, discouraging them from enlisting in the armed forces. It took the form of a whisper campaign. Really nice girls would not do such a thing. It was picked up by the newspapers, not to mention fathers, mothers, and brothers. Servicewomen had the opportunity to learn specialized occupations and become independent, even though they were paid 2/3 of the basic pay that the men received. The benefits of military service were numerous.
We were being trained by the men down in St. High, but when we were sent out to Victoria, to Esquimalt, we were supposed to be relieving the men for service at sea. And so we weren't really working with men, we were just all wrens working out at the station. But some of the poor men that we were relieving only got as far as Ottawa or Halifax. Some of them really didn't get to sea at all. I think it was all a very leveling experience because we all came from so many different backgrounds.
We were the last draft of wrens to be trained at Galt. And 75 of us were being trained as dental assistants, and it was a brand new category. And all dentists were Army, they were the Army Corps. So we were here for 3 weeks and took our training with the Dental Corps. We lived in Army Barracks, Trinity Barracks at Harbour and St. George. And every day we were paraded up to the dental clinic. And then when we finished our training, we were stationed in various naval bases across Canada.
But I really learned a lot myself being a nurse during the war. And I learned to respect all people, you know, regardless of their age or their nationality or their circumstances in life. And I found I became a better person for having that experience. And it certainly didn't make me feel any better about war. I think war should be averted at all costs unless it's something that absolutely has no other alternative.
We belong to the YWCA, and there was a lovely woman there, the name of Laura Fung, I believe, and she got us together to form this Chinese ambulance corps, you know, a group of us. We had a full platoon, and we loved to do our part in the world too. We knew that the boys were doing it, and we wanted to do our part, and it became one of the most well-known group of Chinese women in Vancouver.